Okay.
Bunch of freaking
Let's
stuff.
take a listen.
Cool.
So this is a you mix and master this, or you produce it too, or
Yeah, I produced, mixed, and mastered. I worked with Chris a little bit on the mixing and finished the master. Thought I'd get some feedback on that.
got you. Cool. Let's check it out.
Cool. Thanks.
Yeah, so I think, dude, I think your levels are great on the master. I think it sounds nice and loud. It sounds appropriate for the genre. My thing is, for this type of song, I think that the highs are too hyped, right? We have that the overhead, or sorry, the open hi hat kind of that kind of thing is like really abrasive from the start, and then we kind of have it all the way through. So like as soon as it comes in, it like kind of just never lets up. I mean, there are moments where like it gets a little bit less obvious because we bring more, instrumentation, more high end, more mid range frequencies when we bring like the vocals and stuff in. But it just feels a little bit like if we were talking about like balance, right? Oh, sorry, we were talking like balance. That's a terrible straight line. But if we're talking like balance, right? It's something more along the lines of like this, right? It feels like it's like super hyped in the upper mid range and the highs. And I think that what we can do is kind of soften that a little bit. There's two things on my mind that we can do. Um, and I can give you little tips of like each things that would have done in different phases. So in the production phase itself, I probably would have done two things. I would probably on those hats, I probably would have softened the transients a little bit on the hats themselves while I still had control of them. Right. So I would either have done like a transient shaper on them, or if it was like a sampler, I would like reduce the attack, right? And kind of just like make them a little bit more like abrupt and make them a little bit more like they're sliding into them, those frequencies. I would have done another few things, and this could have happened either in the production or the mix, but I would have done things like played with filters on them. So maybe especially like in the beginning here, which you've done on the other drums, right? Like I can hear that kick or the snare, these other drums feel like filtered out. I would have done that on the high end because the thing is, you got to remember that you're giving almost all of your frequencies away right off the bat. Like that hat is the thing that is like pretty much the whole extension of your high end. And from the beginning you're giving it away, so you almost have like nowhere to go with it. And what I would have done, and maybe in this section here, is I would have like used like a low pass filter and just pulled it down like gradually, but just to kind of, you still have the upper end percussion of the hats giving you some kind of rhythmic pulse, but it's not so abrupt that again right from the get-go we're just full on a high energy or high frequency. And then it also gives us somewhere to go, so we have like the ability to open the filter over time, and then when we get to this bigger moment here, that's when then we can have like the filter just completely open and just give all of the highs away, right? And then strategically do that again at different parts. So like when we're doing like breakdowns, maybe pull off, either a pull away the hats completely, like completely take them away, or use a filter to like reduce the high frequencies. And again, because remember, the high frequencies are what give you that excitement, the energy, that explosion. They make things sound big, right? Again, when we're talking in terms of the cube, high frequencies make you feel expansively high, like up there, right? And so
Right.
if you have all of those too quickly, it's like you're giving away the whole dimension of your cube right away.
Yeah. So
Does,
when I want all the energy, is that high on the hi hat too hot, or does it feel like it sits in
it
the right
feels
spot?
it feels a little bit more appropriate, but I would still say it's still a little too prominent in the mix. I would say again, like this feels like, that scene. Have you ever seen that SNL where the dude's like hitting the cowbell, and he's
Yeah.
like,
Yeah.
"Yeah, we need more cowbell." Like, like that's what it seems like. Where it's like there's this one dude just playing the freaking hat, and he's just like vying for the audience's attention, you know?
Yeah.
So that's where I'm saying is like maybe we leave it there, but we turn it down a few dB. My favorite thing, my thing that I would do, and just to kind of show you, right? Like I would use something like Spiff. Spiff is a really cool tool by
Yeah.
OEC. But essentially, it's a transient shaper that I can use on the full mix. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to cut, we'll delta it to make sure we're hitting the right thing here. High frequencies. Pulls them in a little bit, wrangles them in a little bit. Like that's what I would do. First off, I would probably soften the transients on those hats just so they're not so abrasive. And then a trick that I like to do a lot of the time is so on a master specifically. I think this is would be the last move that I would do to kind of rein it in a little bit. So probably do something like here in this 2K area. I would reduce just a little bit, just because again we have the hype from the hi hats, and then we have this kind of like mid range stuff that's coming from the vocal. Just slightly, right? I'm just pulling
Yep.
some of that mid range in just a little bit. And then what I would do, actually, if I was mastering this track, what I would do, and this was like the final mix you sent in, I would then de-ess it. I would soften the upper range here. And there's two ways that I can be like really pinpointed about this. For instance, one way that I can do that is I can come in with Vision 4X and use a spectrogram to find where those hats are really problematic. So it's probably like in this range here from like 4K and up, right? So I can set my de-esser here. Let's pull this down to 4K and just go all the way up to the top. So again, that sounds like we're completely like darkening it, but that's kind of what we want, because essentially what this is doing is those hi-hats are too abrasive, right? And they're like very staccato kind of sounds. So what we're doing here is, again, when you hear this, sounds kind of crazy, but again, we're not like completely deleting that stuff. We're just turning it down by a few dB, right? So it's not that it's gone, it's still there. And we've essentially darkened the track, but instead of having these hats that are doing this, right, it's more something that's like this, right? They're
Right.
closer, they're reducing the dynamic range. So now what we can do is we can go in and actually add some brightness back, but it's going to feel a whole lot more even because of the fact those hats aren't getting in the way of that brightness. See how without it, it feels like those hi hats are kind of just like hidden really hard, and they just feel like they're kind of driving all of that upper range. We can still have the nice brightness and the shimmer from the hats, but we're doing it in like kind of like a more even keeled way rather than letting the hats kind of just dominate that high end zone. We're kind of
Right.
compressing them down, so we're reducing the dynamic range in the highs because remember, all a de-esser is a high end compressor, a high frequency compressor. And then we're using that shelf on the top. Now we're allowed to get way more out of the high end because we've stabilized it, right?
Right. So, but that going back to something you said earlier, if I can go fix that in the production or mixing phase and just soften those up, that's probably going to be my best bet. Would you agree?
Yeah, I would soften them. So there's two things that I probably would take. Since you've had touches on all of this all the way through, is I would soften the hi hats with like some kind of transient shaper, and then try just reducing the volume on them too. Just bring them
Okay.
down a little bit so they're not so like out to dry in the high end. And then what I would do on the vocals and the piano or like the synth that's in there, right? Anything that's kind of existing prominently from like 1200 to 6K, I would go in there and just make a gradual this kind of cut that I did here, right?
Yeah.
And kind of carve some of that away. And you can dictate what needs more and what needs less. But I think this becomes really important because this is kind of making your track feel a little bit more mid-range focus. And again, because we're mastering it at these higher levels, we want it to feel a lot more balanced. We don't want this to kind of be the thing that's like because this could either hit or miss depending on the medium they're listening to, right? Like if
Right.
they're listening on earbuds, this might be too intense, right? So we want to just like kind of lower this just a little bit, I would say, on the vocals and that probably your snare too, like your anything that's prominent in this zone. Kind of look at this in the production and kind of just make some preemptive cuts here to kind of clean it up, and then. What I would still probably do though on the master or on the mix bus is probably like just kind of softly compressing the upper range, the upper frequencies with the de-esser
Gotcha.
because that's going to still allow you to get the best possible enhancement boost out of your frequencies.
That makes total sense. So I have one other question, Damian, on the last break. So it's where the waveform kind of drops off. There's a synth that kind of hits. And I was kind of curious. I was kind of curious to get your take on if that feels like, yeah, right in that range. If it feels like that it's too there's too much going on.
Okay, cool. Let's I think it's sick. I think it works. I think what we need is even more contrast, right? Because there is so much mid range in here, like full on mid range, and you even have some like lower extension of the low mids. Because we have all of that, this doesn't feel impactful. Like this moment here does not feel as impactful as it could. What I
Right.
would want to do is maybe like even just again simple filter trick here. What we can do is just do something like this, and let's move this at the beginning of the chain here. And all this is just an EQ. I kind of have like a quick draw um, band pass kind of filter. And what
Yeah.
we can do is something like this. Let's set it maybe something like right there. Let's set this here. And then what I would do is I would automate this, right? So you can have this kind of set maybe something like this, where at the center of the transition, it kind of closes the filter. And then right before this point, right there on that hit, we can have it close. And we can kind of bend this like that, like such. So we get something more like this. Right. And obviously I put it on the wrong spot. So we would open it up like right there where the music starts coming in. Or again, maybe even open it gradually. So right here where this hit comes in, here, maybe you can do something like open it up gradually. Still kind of close a little bit. Don't give all of it away. And then give it a little bit more transition space, right?
Yeah.
Right, and then have it like open and close, like however you want to do it. But I think again, creating that contrasting point where we're taking away frequencies, and the absence of frequencies is a great contrasting point to when we're bringing everything in all
Yeah.
at once.
Yeah,
Right?
that's a good point. Yep.
You know what I mean? So I think something like that would really just enhance this and just make that last section just feel like it hits super hard. You know?
Cool. Cool. Okay. That's
Does that make
great
sense?
feedback. Yeah, totally. Thank you.
Yeah, just small little things like that. But I think for the most part, this is a really good. You're already in a really good spot. I would just say, in comparison to maybe other house tracks in this kind of genre, I would say it's like just a little bit mid-range focused.
Gotcha. Okay.
Right.
Cool. I'll do some more work, maybe bring it back.
If you're a self-recording artist and you're really passionate about music, you're serious about honing your craft and learning how to produce, mix and master music to a professional level at home, then you might be a good fit for our flagship program, which is called The Reverse Engineer. It's a multi-year comprehensive program where we actually teach in reverse. We start with mastering, turn you into a professional mastering engineer, then we cover mixing, do that to a professional level, and finally production and recording. It consists of an extensive curriculum that most people take a year or two to get through, a really engaged community of incredibly supportive people, 60 plus hours a week of mentorship on Zoom with our team of mentors, which includes Grammy winning and multi-platinum diamond certified engineers. And then at the end, we have a certification process where you can pass an exam and get your hands on a gold plaque just like this. Now, just quickly here, I actually want to invite you to apply it for a scholarship, because if you're here watching our content on YouTube, it probably means you know quite a lot of our stuff already and you've already made some progress. So below you'll find a link to learn more about the Reverse Engineer, but also there'll be a link to apply for a scholarship. Every month or so, we offer one full ride scholarship and also multiple partial scholarships. So it'll take about 10 minutes to apply, but you may as well give it a shot. You never know what will come out of it. You'll fill out an application form. At the end, you'll then book your review session with someone on our admissions team where they'll go over your application and let you know if you qualified for any scholarships or not. So either way, go and check it out. Thanks for watching.